Okay, it's 1 minute or so after 5, so we'll call the meeting to order. What do I need to do first? Do I need to call the roll, or do I need to get the minutes? How do we do it?
Roll call usually first.
Okay, let's call the roll and make sure he's here. Frank Spain.
Here.
Randy Wilson.
Here.
Stacy Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Stubblefield. Who am I missing? Stubblefield, Randy, you. Don Eden here. So I declare we have a quorum, and the first thing I would do is entertain a motion to accept the minutes into record. We got them a few days ago, but if you need time to read them, take all the time you need, and when somebody's ready, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Frank,
I second.
Frank makes the motion, seconded by Stacy Moore. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. All those not in favor, like sign. So the motion carries. So let's move right into our usual routine, which is the EMA report.
Yes, sir. So the month of June through July the 14th, we ran 10 motor vehicle accidents, 4 commercial vehicle accidents. We had 2 structure fires. We had 0 illegal burns. We had our Homeland Security monthly meeting. Our Special Operations team had their meeting. We had our 911 meeting, and we met with TEMA. A couple of things that we have done since this report was produced. We had 1,000 gallons of gasoline spill in Ridgetop, Tennessee at the AM/PM Express. That was about a 3-day, well, for us, it was about a 3-day response call for us. Things that we had to do as far as when we arrived on scene. We talked with Ridgetop Fire Department and putting down a foam blanket on the on the gasoline. We had our booms that we placed around the storm drain. We had booms that we placed down the waterway. TDEC was there. TEMA was there. Underground storage facility tanks, they were there. Environmental company was there. It took about a week for them to clean it up, but it was quite a mess. We also had a swift water rescue up on the Red River since this report has been produced. We talked with the TWRA, and if you will remember in our last EMA committee meeting that we had talked about if TWRA was responsible for doing the water rescues and stuff like that up on the Red River, and they are not. Talked with them, and they're not. The only thing they have to do is report it if there's any reportable injury. So it's kind of the fire department having jurisdiction, which would be Adams Fire Department is responsible for that, but we do assist them with that. Other than that, that's all I have in this report.
Just a little sidebar from our last meeting. Have we had any more water rescue?
Yes, sir, we have. We've had one since our last meeting. It was last week.
After hours?
It was during hours.
Somebody just got lost?
Yes, sir, they did. They tipped their canoe, didn't they, Amanda?
They ended up getting pinned between a tree and the shoreline. So their canoe hit the tree where it was running, the water was running through, pressurizing it, and it tipped it up and ejected them out, which they weren't injured at all, but they were stuck to the location of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we took an airboat up and went up, and they were able to meet up with the canoe company because this one was an actual one of the rentals. So they were able to meet up with them on top of the hill and get out safely.
Very good. Does anybody have a question or comment for Director Holmes? If not, then I would entertain a motion to accept this report into the record.
I make a motion to accept.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you, Randy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm assuming you voted aye, Commissioner Wilson, since you seconded the motion. So
I did.
Thank you, Randy. Motion carries unanimously. Let's go right into the EMS report.
Y'all have the minutes there. I didn't get those out to you until just a second ago because I was minding the door, but I think everybody's had a chance to read them.
Yeah, we got them in, everybody
Okay,
got them,
that? Okay,
everybody
good.
got them by email,
Good.
and
Okay,
everybody
great.
read them,
Great.
if not today, a few days ago.
All right, good. The June service report there, you have not seen it yet because I didn't send it out due to the fact that we didn't have the final numbers for the finance department at the time of the county commission meeting. We ended the month of June with 756 total responses, and out of that we are going to likely bill out somewhere around 476. And then last year, just for comparison, we did 821 total responses and 530 billables. So our billables still down quite a bit. Not seeing as many as we saw last year. We're still doing around 25 calls a day. Usually we're around 27, something like that. So our transfers have picked up to pretty much normal. We're 78 this month, or 73 this month, 78 last year at the same time. So we're pretty much in line there. Calls for service this year, we're at 3,874, and in 2019 we were at 4,767. So there's a pretty significant difference there in total calls for service year to date. The rest of the report is pretty much unremarkable as far as that goes. The Station 1 trucks averaged around 100 calls a piece, and White House actually did more than the Station 1 ambulances. Individually, they did 121 total calls and transported 67. So they're quite busy out there in the month of June. Unless somebody has some questions
One
that I can
question.
answer. Yes, sir.
I want you to make a comment, and Rick, I want you to feel free to add to it, but comment on why you think our calls are down here compared to a year ago with the coronavirus and all the other stuff.
Well, that's I think COVID had a lot to do with quite a bit of it. I think people are still staying home and not, venturing out if they have to. Some of it's really hard to. I don't know if it's seasonal. Folks have to be getting out. Usually we have a lot more motorcycle wrecks, things like that, and we haven't been seeing that like we used to would see. Early in the summer, you'd have a lot more people outside doing things, a lot more people, in more car accidents than we usually have. And it's just not, it doesn't seem as, I don't know, it's not as type of things we normally would see, we haven't seen.
Rick?
I would agree with that. I think you can also see it in our June cash. We were down almost 30-something thousand, almost $40,000, and it's reflective of about 45, 60 days prior when our call volume tanked during, call it April. And
Which we're going to see when we see
yeah,
your.
yeah, exactly. So, I think that Russell's right. I think that's probably primarily, I think people are not calling for some of the things that we have been called for in the past simply because they don't want to get the virus.
I went out to an accident just the other day, and the lady, she didn't have any, obvious injuries to speak of. Of course, we tried to get her to go to the hospital, but she didn't want to go because she didn't want to risk, potentially coming in contact with it. She said, I'm going to go home, I'm going to stay and, go see my doctor if I feel like I need to, but I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to be in any hospital. It wasn't, anything against the hospital. She just didn't want to be potentially exposed. And you see, see a lot of people that aren't taking any precautions, but you do see a lot of people that are, they don't want to be anywhere they don't have to be. They're not, they're not picking up their groceries. They're just parking outside and letting the store bring it out, and they're not going inside a lot of these places. And
Just to speak to it on the other side too, the emergency room volumes starting in March, April, were down almost 50%, 45% in some cases.
Which volume is that?
The ERs, where we would take our patients. So even walk-in traffic has slowed a lot. It's rebounded since then, and, you know, most of the ERs that I deal with now are down about 18%, 20% from what their
Kind of
normal
across the
volume
board.
is across the board. So it's rebounding, which we see, you know, in our run volume too, but it's not necessarily where it was pre-COVID or pre-virus.
So I've got a question about as far as the, I guess the coronavirus or whatever, I have some family that lives in Texas, and they told me that they're about ready to stop the elective surgeries and all that again down there because increase, I guess, has gotten so bad.
For
Yeah.
capacity.
Are we seeing that here, or since I'm not at the hospital every day, I don't.
Right.
I don't know.
There is a big uptick in the number of cases that are coming in. And again, the doctors that I work with primarily are in Kentucky, but, you know, close proximity to here. So they're seeing quite a substantial increase over what they were, call it June, May, once it had slowed down some. So there is an uptick in the number of cases. As far as, you know, when each state does what you're saying and, you know, stops elective surgeries, things like that, who knows? But there is definitely a resurgence of the number of cases.
I know Mr. Davis said on the call last week, the weekly call that we had, that they were monitoring it almost like day by day, and they didn't want to stop that if they didn't have to, but they're keeping a really close eye on it here locally at least.
Right.
Sure.
Let's see.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. The fleet report is next, and like I promised last week, it is going to be, it was significantly more than May, and when it turned hot, it did like it does every year, and we had some vehicle failures. We had a couple of sets of tires in there that needed to be replaced, and it ended up to the tune of about $14,000, which is, you know, I've had worse months in my time doing this, but we also have an interesting thing that's happened. It's not good, but it is covered by warranty. We've got an ambulance that's got about 50,000 miles on it, and the motor is blown in it. And it's number 40 there. I mean, it's going to be covered by warranty, the dealership tells me. So it's over there waiting on an engine. But everything else we have is up and running, and we've got 2 spares. And hopefully the heat failures will kind of, I've caught up with them. But you always have some air conditioning fail and some alternators, batteries, things like that when you have the changing season. But July has been a much better month, I feel like, already.
So Russell, the engine is definitely under warranty?
Yes, sir. It's number 40. It's a 2017. It's got 52,000 and some change, maybe 53,000. It's got I think it's a 6-year, 100,000 mile warranty or something like that on the powertrain and the engine. But it's definitely got to have a motor put in. It's over at the Ford dealership there now, but it lost the oil pressure and then got a rod knock or some kind of a knock, something bad. So it's fatally injured. But hopefully we'll have it back. I know they're having a hard time getting motors, but we'll hopefully have some good news on that here soon. But I'm just proud that it's under warranty. I've never had an engine fail, so I was kind of worried about that. It happens. That's all I've got on my reports, I believe.
Thank you, Russell. Does anybody have a comment or a question for Mr. Guffin? If not, then move right into the finance report.
All right. For June of this year, we billed $464,289.66 on 566 encounters, which was up from $424,087.80 on 520 in 2019. And the average encounter charge increased from $815.55 to $820.29. The amount of cash collected for June decreased from $291,997.69 in 2019 to $267,818.39 in this year. And again, this is roughly about 60 days, 45 to 60 days, which is where we would see a decrease in run volume back in late March, April, which I think is causing most of this. So, just strictly from a volume standpoint. Our expenses for June were $421,682.75 compared to $432,606 June of 2019. And then, of course, the table shows that we, basically a summary of this. One thing we did is our expense per loaded mile was $53.93, which from 2018 is continuing to go down somewhat, 46 to 59, 55 to 53.93, and that was on 7,819 loaded miles. And of course, our expense per call was $745.02, just based on the billable numbers. That's not necessarily the responses or how many calls for service, which would make that dramatically go down. That's just based on strictly billed numbers. Now, it was the year end. I just got some of the final data today, so at the next meeting, I'll have a year end summary that shows the performance based on where we were with the budget, both revenue and expense, and then also comparative to last year and year before. So we'll have that this next.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'll be anxious to see that because I've got a feeling we're not going to be able to hold our 50% that we used to brag about.
Yeah, I don't.
Now I find out and check around. Maybe we're bragging too quick, but whatever.
I think just preliminarily, I think we were like 175,000 over budget in revenue for the year, and I wanted to say we were like 264,000 under budget in cost. So netting it out, I think we're around 460,000 combined favorable than we would that we had budgeted. So I think that's
okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great news.
Yeah, that is. So, like I said, I just got some of the final data this afternoon. I'll put it together, and if you want to see it before then, I can send it to all the committee members.
Well, since you and I especially are involved in our extra project, as soon as you get it, just email it to me.
Okay.
I can have current numbers to think about.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to go over now, Rick?
We're still collecting data for the overall project.
Yeah. Let's do this first.
Yeah.
Anybody have a question about the revenue expense numbers? These are through May.
These are through June.
Yeah. But what you're going to get are the exact numbers.
No, these are exact for June. I'm saying for the overall
year to date.
The summary for the year, budget year.
Yep.
It ended on June 30th, so I got the final numbers today, so I'll put together the summary for the year and send that out.
Okay. Anybody have a comment or a question for Rick about the last page on the minutes? I'll take that as a no. So if we could, let's get this report from the EMS into the record. I entertain a motion that we accept it.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Spain makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I guess the next obvious thing we need to talk about is our side evaluation project that we've been involved with, and you tell us where we are on yours, Rick.
Well, I think all in all, and Russ will jump in. I think it's we've compared it to a lot of the counties that Mr. Wade brought up in his report. So we've acquired a lot of the data. A lot of the specific data is run volumes, how many stations, how many critical care paramedics versus full-time, a lot of different variables and put it in a spreadsheet to slice it and really see how we compare apples and apples, not just raw data. Because if you look at it, look at, for instance, Putnam County, I mean, they collected around $4 million, but they did double the number of runs that we did. And if you look at the average collection per run, they were at 320 and we were like 355. So, comparatively there, revenue-wise, it looks like, any opportunity that, and this is just preliminarily, but it looks like the opportunity that we would have would be making sure, from an efficiency standpoint, that our guys, our crews are running as many runs as their crews. Making sure that the way that we accrue, overtime and different things like that, and just maybe alternate staffing models or something. Those are still I think, are going to be any opportunities that we find. It won't necessarily be on the revenue side, except for maybe if we started billing for lift assists or things where we get dispatched. You see the big disparity between the number of calls for service and how many we actually bill.
Yeah.
A lot of that is, that we'll get called to a facility for lift assist or something like that.
In other words, we might be able to bill those?
Well, a lot of other services are.
It's called a response fee.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. It's not as much
No.
as you get on a normal call, but it's something.
Yeah.
Well, right now, we're getting nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. If you go, let's say we have to go over to, and this is, it shouldn't happen, but there's times where we have to go to an assisted living facility because they're understaffed at night and help them get somebody up out of the floor. And the patient doesn't need to go to the hospital, they just need help out of the floor. Well, some services, they bill a pretty significant response fee for that, or they'll bill a person, let's say $50 to go to their home and get them up out of the floor, which now we just do that for free. We don't charge for that, I guess you'd say. So there could be some.
And your thinking is maybe we need to start charging for that.
Well, this
It's
whole
something to
exercise.
investigate for sure.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, this whole exercise is an opportunity for us to look for opportunities that are there that we may not have exploited or utilized in the past. And if that's something that we find and you guys agree with it, then we would definitely want to, implement that. Another, situation that happens is we respond to a scene. Someone denies transport, but yet we provide some sort of service on the scene. We wrap wounds or do, something.
And they don't want to go to the hospital.
And they don't want to go to the hospital. Well, for us, we eat the cost right now. And some of the other services are using that as another opportunity to gather some revenue. So, things like that. And I think it'll be a good, like I said before, it'll be a good exercise for us. I think that, if we can be better, we want to make sure we are. And so we're getting some good data. When we do set the date that you guys want us to report, we'll.
Yeah,
lay
I'd say
the whole thing
that
out.
is November-ish.
Okay.
We need to get a report out.
Well, then I can make sure that happens. So anyway, I think it's progressing good. We even go through, the populations, how many square miles, how many stations, like I said, a lot of different variables. So I think it'll be good.
We got some good preliminary information for most all of the services. There's a couple of them I'm going to have to get a hold of their finance office or something like that because they didn't know how many runs they had billed or what they had collected. The service didn't have a clue. They didn't know. They don't keep up with it, I guess. But I don't know.
Roughly, how many did we send out?
I'd say 10.
10 to 12, a good bit.
And a lot of it's comparative, as far as either population or square miles type thing. So, and again, Mr. Wade,
I did everybody that was on Mr. Wade's list, and I added in a couple of more services that I found that were either within those counties or something like that. And we've had good communication with most everybody.
Yeah, it's I can already tell, and I don't want us to start drawing any conclusions yet, because I've had to hold myself back when I created another list from the same C-test guy, and I wanted to see along with those populations what their budget was in the EMS department, which I've got that, and I've kind of honed in on a number of counties that are our size. Really locally, kind of honed in on Sumner County, talking to the mayor and their new director, and Murray County.
Mm-hmm.
I've got quite a bit of education. One thing I can say that everybody has been affected by the revenue with the coronavirus.
Exactly.
I found out that out of the 95 counties in Tennessee, about 1/3 of them have somebody help them with their ambulance service. They either contract it out or a lot of people do it through the hospital.
Yeah, Murray's hospital base is what.
Murray Regional does Lewis County, Wayne County, and Murray County.
And Williamson County also, a lot of people don't think about that. It's hospital based also.
Kentucky has 120 counties. And out of those 120 counties, 53% of them contract their service out. But Kentucky has a myriad of little bitty counties. I've found a lot of interesting things that there's no need to get into right now. But this is, I can already tell this is going to be a good exercise. I'm not going to draw any conclusions except this. I was afraid that we had built our church for Easter Sunday. And it really hit us in the face when we saw this new budget with the fourth truck we've added. I'm sure now that we didn't do that. Now, we've got a nice church, and that's a compliment to everybody. We've got a nice church, but we are, I think when it's all said and done, we're gonna kind of see where we set up, and there may be some other avenues opened up to us that we don't even know about yet that we'll be able to take advantage of.
And we see, Josh and I, we go to a lot of meetings, see a lot of people, and we're not, we're not perfect by any means. But I think, the people in this county are well protected, and we've got a good service. But there's always something that can be, fine-tuned, improved, made better, more efficient.
I was looking for the county that I just stumbled across. And the guy in Morristown, which is
Morristown, Hamlin County.
That's Hamlin County, and they have their own service, and their numbers, they're smaller than us, and their numbers kind of stack up. But he told me about he told me about another little county that I can't find right now. But anyway, that's the only one in the state that makes money. They operate their system and give the county back $200,000 a year.
There may be.
But they must have and it's not Morristown. Morristown's run by.
Green?
Morristown.
Green was pretty efficient.
Well, Greene County
they do a lot, everything themselves. I can't remember. There's some other things with Greene County, but one of them is, it may be, where's Oak Ridge? One of them they have to pay, they're not, the deal we have with the state and the Medicaid, they lose money on that somehow. I don't remember. They don't have enough Medicaid patients. They have more cash and insured patients than they do. I don't remember.
Hamlin County at Morristown.
I know the assistant director.
They don't run their ambulance service. Morristown Rescue Squad runs the whole ambulance service. And that entity started, and I guess there was some pretty progressive leadership, and still to this day they run the ambulance service. It doesn't cost Hamlin County one penny, and everybody gets picked up when there's an accident. I was really surprised to hear that, and as a matter of fact, the mayor's kind of surprised to hear that. But anyway, I think going through this process is going to be very, very healthy for us. Anybody have any comments or questions? Any other business need to come before the committee?
Russell, you want to talk about our employees that we have that are COVID
Sure.
positive or
We
out?
got
What, Russell, just a minute.
Sure.
Are we getting our minutes down?
Well, and we've got Chet's, well, he ran away, but we've
Is that-
got, we got that, we got,
Is Tina on
we got
here?
double recording. Now, Tina had a family member that had to go over to the hospital, and she went over to stay with them.
It's recording.
So I told her we would make sure and take great notes.
Yeah, great notes where we can.
I'm gonna blame it all on Josh.
I'm sorry, I just now missed you.
No, it's
No,
okay.
it's taken.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we discussed, we had 5 employees out, for either suspicion, pending test or positive. I think, 3 of them are positive, am I right?
Yeah, right now
One came back negative this afternoon and one is still pending a test. So we've had that. I was gone for the last 2 weeks with it. My wife also. Before that, right July the 3rd, she developed symptoms, so I was gone for a pretty good while. I had a really mild case.
Russell, did you get retested or did you?
Well,
How
here's
does that
what
work?
happened with me. My wife she works for HCA. She got a test result back really quick, and we were pretty sure she was positive. So, and it was. And then I went over to the health department the same day, and on the 5th day, I got an inconclusive result. But I didn't go back to be tested because I had pretty much the exact symptoms that she had, other than not having loss of taste and really shortness of breath. I had cough and things like that. I'd get tired really easily. So I'm just basing that on my own knowledge. But I'm going to go give blood here soon and get the antibody test and see. But I stayed the course and did some work from home.
Sure.
I feel pretty good now. Last week
Yeah,
I was really dragging towards it.
If people have been exposed, we don't want them to come to work.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been, and most of the people we've had have been, like I said, they've been mild. They haven't had any serious side effects. Nobody's had to go on a ventilator or anything like that. One employee, the first one we had, she was really winded, short of breath, things like that. Couldn't walk very far without taking a break. But I think she's pretty well fully recovered. Am I leaving out anything?
No, she was the worst one. It's just, what's happening now is you get somebody who has a fever, gotta go home, and now we have to wait. Luckily, several have come back negative, but they still lose a few days at
So
work.
they get a fever and they go home, and then we ask that they go get a test.
Yeah, we've been sending them
Oh, they
to
wanna go get a
yeah,
test.
we send them to
We send them to get a test, and we tell them they cannot come back until they either have a negative result, or if they're positive, they complete the 10-day quarantine with 72 hours symptom free.
10 days plus 72 hours.
Correct. And most of their
Okay.
symptoms have gone away in the first couple of days.
Sure.
And they're just sitting at home for another 4 or 5 days, completing their 10-day mandatory quarantine.
The testing slows it down quite a bit. But we've started using was it Care Smart?
Yeah, we're going to Care Now. So the health department's been averaging at now like 12 to 14 days from some of our guys. We had a guy, he's day 14. He's back at work because he's completed the mandatory requirements. He still hasn't got a result. Care Now has been getting them in 24 to 48 hours. So
That's somebody different that we're using here? or-
Right.
Private
That's a
lab.
private, it's an ACA-owned urgent care center, essentially. So they have
So we gotta-
prioritized
You
healthcare
have to,
workers.
we have to pay for that test?
Their insurance covers it.
Oh, their insurance, the individual insurance coverage.
Correct.
Huh.
So nothing out of pocket. There's been no.
Well, which is the county insurance?
Yes,
Yeah.
unless they're insured with a
Yeah, I understand that.
spouse.
So this way we know when somebody's not just sitting at home for 2 weeks without
Yeah.
a result, and if they're negative, they come back to work.
Well, I commend you, and I encourage you to stick to our guns, even though we're feeling okay, but because of the position we're in, we just got to follow the protocol, which I wasn't sure what it was. I'd heard 14 days, so 10 days plus 72 hours is,
Yeah, so it's 10 days now, and then like I said, whenever your symptom is ended as well. So it's constantly changing. I think the new recommendation is actually 24 hours, but we're still sticking with 72.
24 on the end of
10
10.
days, correct.
Yeah, well, try to be consistent, treat everybody the same, and don't let anybody come back too soon.
We're doing a lot of disinfection, a lot of precautions. I mean, just a lot of cleaning. We use our UV light quite a bit. I mean, we're using it constantly. We've got a lot of
Well,
things that, it's kind of a new road that we've never had to go down. We've always had to disinfect, but not to this,
And at our supervisors meeting this morning, we reiterated all of that to the supervisors, just to make sure that gets reinforced to the crews.
Perfect. Well, I encourage you to stay the course because it is past important. It's vital that we keep up this amount of work that we're having to do extra that we normally don't have to do. That's just all there is to it. Okay, anybody else have anything that would come under additional old or new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second? Commissioner Spain, all in favor, stand up. The meeting's over.